afternoon, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of How Did You Show? It's been a little while since we recorded the last episode, so I'm really excited about this one, and I'm bringing you again a new topic, as I always try to bring as many new topics as possible to the show, so you get as much value as possible from this show. So who I'm bringing you today, it's an expert on the bridging finance, which is something we haven't had on the show yet. And his name is Alex, but I'll let you pronounce your last name. Hi, Alex, and welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning, Lenka. I'm Alex Blakeborough. Many of you guys will be aware of myself. I specialise in bridging and development finance. I'm also a HMO investor up in Leeds, where I'm based. As mentioned, I run AB Finance, specialists in bridging and development finance in particular. Pretty prolific across all social media platforms, and always here to assist with any bridging and general property finance actually as well. As I say, I've got some HMOs in Leeds, student lets as well, so we invest as well as actually assisting the majority, well, pretty much solely, to be honest, property investors. So we don't do much residential stuff, but your standard buy-to-lets, HMO conversions, commercial conversions, ground-up development, all that kind of stuff. So anything which isn't properties which aren't really worthy of a mortgage, and if you're doing refurbs, that kind of thing, and getting them up to scratch by refurb, refinance, all that kind of thing. So yeah, always happy to help, and great to be on the show finally. That
Nice.
We've had various sort of issues where sort of holding us back, haven't we? But nice to be on, and thanks, and nice to be seeing you again.
Absolutely. Oh, that's really kind. The same for you as well, Alex. Like we've been, as you said, we've been trying to do this for a while now, and there's always a reason why we had to postpone this episode. So I'm really glad that we finally made it.
Yeah.
As you said, that you are very, very busy being, and so Alex, you are a friend of mine. You are a hardworking man. You are very busy on social media, and as I said, you're an expert on a topic which we haven't had here today. So it's really exciting to have you here today, and I'm sure that you're going to add so much value as well. Now, as you've mentioned as well, that you are being very active on social media. You are everywhere. You are really good at networking. Like wherever I look, Alex is there. Alex is always everywhere.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Getting out there and getting your name out there as much as possible. I'm sure you're very aware, and a lot of people see my food. I tend to post a lot of food stuff as well across my social media. And yeah, I've sat on panel on quite a few clubhouse things and on various networking things as well. I'm a diamond member of the PPN at Stratford, so I'm quite involved with PPN and get to Leeds as well, every time it's on, and enjoy the networking side as well. So single and no kids, so really just smashing it out, really networking and working as hard as I can to get AB Finance up and running, so that when we do settle down, we've got something nice and can enjoy it. Hopefully, take the foot off the pedal eventually. But for now, just smashing out, growing AB Finance. So yeah,
nice, yeah. As I said, you're doing really good marketing, because as I said, I'm seeing AB Finance absolutely everywhere. So AB Finance, I assume it stands for, it's your name initials, isn't it? Or does it stand for anything else?
Yes, it is. AB stands for Alex Blakeborough. Pretty simple, really.
Nice.
And so it just I think it's got quite a nice ring to it, AB,
It does, yeah, it does.
As in an ABC of bridging, perhaps, or AB, AB Finance, yeah.
Amazing.
Like that.
Now, Alex, can you tell us a little bit more about how you actually got involved with finance and property in general?
So yeah, how I initially got into it, in case how far back do I go, really? I mean, previously I worked with my ex-girlfriend's father. He was in property, and he was actually running a chicken farm, believe it or not. So I've always sort of had an interest in property. I actually, on a bit of a sad note, after my father passed away, we had some inheritance money, and my dad, being an accountant, sort of advised unfortunately, with him being struck with cancer, you don't know sort of how long you've got on this planet. So as he was sort of dying, we sort of with my mother and my sister and my dad as well, his help, we sort of decided to start investing in property into HMOs in particular. So that sort of was our route into property. Unfortunately, in the meantime, I'd split up with my long-term girlfriend, and so it was a bit of a rocky road at first. So I was looking for a job, and I got chatting to some finance brokers. This was about 7 years ago, in restaurant, bar and grill, actually having a drink with a friend, and we got chatting, and I said I was looking for a job, and I was in property, and we got on well. I'd had a degree in economics, so. Long story short, they ended up offering me a job. Just sort of saw that I had a bit about me, and a decent brain in my head, and had a little bit of background in finance, and I got offered a job basically off the back of that. And again, to cut a long story short, I worked with one brokerage that was very sort of left to my own devices, but all commission based, and I was just out in the field, like networking, that kind of thing, without having too much direction. So I went from there to another brokerage, which was completely different. Learned the ropes there, sort of in the office, half 8 till half 5 every day. Learned sort of the basics of it, doing that. And in the meantime, obviously my father unfortunately had passed away, and I had a ready-made office at home at my mum's. So I thought, you know what, let's give it a shot ourselves. And that was quite a number of years ago. And having marketed myself and speaking to lenders and picking up from lenders and just generally doing my research and that kind of thing, and learning hands-on, I suppose. I built up my knowledge and specialised more in bridging, and really sort of built up a specialist area there in the bridging and development finance area. So here we are, sort of 7 years later, after sort of venturing into finance, and we've got a decent business kind of up and running. So that's me, and hopefully, I'm sure my clients will agree. I've got a really sort of good knowledge in the bridging arena now. So we put an emphasis on service and also on our knowledge in the area. I mean, the thing with bridging is you don't have a specific sort of software or sourcing system like a lot of brokers do for your standard sort of buy-to-let mortgages, that kind of thing. So basically it all comes from upstairs in your noggin, basically in your head. So you have to have a really sound knowledge in your mind of how different lenders work and what deals would be suitable for all those lenders. So that's how I've sort of built it up. I think it helps that I have done it sort of on my own accord. So that's where we are today.
Wow. So it's been, you said 7 years since you entered the finance world, or since you started maybe finance?
Yeah, 7 years-ish, yeah.
Nice, yeah. So I guess like when you in 7 years, if it's something what genuinely you genuinely enjoy, and if you're good at that, I can imagine that the knowledge builds up nicely. So
exactly, it's strange how you fall into some things in life looking back, and very, very grateful, feel quite fortunate really to have had that initial conversation with those brokers, and I found something that I've got a passion for, and we're cracking on, doing well. Hopefully, got a small team behind us now, so looking to get men on the ground and hopefully bring the private equity to the table as well for seasoned developers, as time goes on, and get speaking at events as well. That's COVID put a bit of a stop to that, unfortunately, but hopefully that's what we're going to be doing as we move forward.
COVID just something what no one could ever get ready for and prepare.
I know, it's just one of those things, isn't it, in life? Scuppered everyone's plans, lost me a lot of money as well at the time. But
absolutely.
We have to deal with what hand we get dealt in life, don't we? And crack on, make the most of it.
Yeah, exactly. And as we said, it's not like something we've done that it's our fault. It's just something happened, and we just have to deal with how to work around it and with it.
Who knows what's around the corner, eh? You know, no one could have predicted that.
And do you cover whole UK, or do you specify any specific areas, or how does
No, all the whole of UK. I've got deals from Aberdeen down to Bournemouth and the Isle of Wight, you know, and it's, you know, all over the place.
Look, I have to put my hands down. I honestly don't know nothing about bridging finance, bridging loans at all. So if you give us, like, especially for those as well, the beginners or people like me who don't know much about it, like, can you give us like any tips on how to actually get bridging loans for the beginners? Like, where do you start? Like, what's
okay? So bridging, as I say, I've touched on it. It's generally for where if you're looking at doing a refurbishment, something like that. Although there are other options for it as well. You know, if you're leasing money for business loans, for example, that kind of thing, or just trying to if you've got equity in property. But generally, what you'll use it for is buy, refurb, refinance, commercial conversions, that kind of thing, HMO conversions, all that kind of thing. So in terms of the criteria, in terms of what you need for bridging, it's not quite as dependent on your credit rating, for example, or this kind of thing as a normal mortgage. The reason for that is that obviously with a bridge, the main difference is that it's a short-term loan as opposed to a term loan, so there's no early ERCs, early repayment charges, or anything like that. And yeah, basically, it's going to be more based on the asset, so on the property, as opposed to what rental income it's bringing in and that kind of thing. So the keys is the exit from the bridge. That's the main thing for the bridging lender. So if you're going to be doing a flip, does the GDV stack up, for example, the done-up value of the property? Is there enough margin in the deal, for example, as opposed to how much money it's bringing in at the time? And if you is to refinance, whether you've got a route to refinance then, whether it's going to be bringing in rental income then. So generally, another main difference is that you don't have any monthly repayments. Generally on bridging, your interest is retained, so it's deducted from your gross loan day one. There are options for servicing it, so that would be paying monthly, but that comes again more down to your affordability and complicates things slightly more than the general sort of method, which would be rolling up interest. So you might get, for example, a loan of, say, just for argument's sake, you got £100,000 purchase price. You might get 75% of that loan to value, so you get 75,000. You'll then have to take off, say, probably to give you a bit of a safety net, 12 months interest. So you're going to be reducing the amount that you get day in hand, cash in hand day one. So a lot of people think that you might, use the keys as well. Bridges always will still need a first charge. We do have second charge options as well, but again, it's only going to be up to around 75% of loan to value. So yeah. Off change sort slightly, but you'll always have the interest deducted, and you'll generally have a 2% arrangement fee as well. So you'll have 2% arrangement fee plus the interest for a year deducted from your day one loan, which will be 75% generally. I mean, I don't know whether I mentioned, we do have options with AB Finance. We've got one exclusive offering actually from one lender where we can get 85% of the open market value. So the majority of lenders will go off the lower of the purchase price or the value. But we do have certain lenders that will go off the value as opposed to the purchase price. So if you've got below market value properties, we can look at up to 85% of the open market value. Again, you've got to remember that that's going to be reduced by taking the interest and the arrangement fee off. But we can work off that. So if you've got below market value, effectively we can get up to 100% of the purchase price as long as it's below market value enough. So that, as I say, that's an exclusive offering to AB Finance, and there's only 6 or 7 brokers in the UK that have got access to that. So we're quite proud of that. Yeah. And yeah, so that's in a nutshell. I mean, I can talk a little bit about the fees as well associated. So
Yeah.
generally,
yeah, sorry, don't want to stop your flow.
Yeah, no problem. So generally, you're going to have, first of all, we work anyway. I've got an inquiry. You say you've got a deal. You'll come to me. We'll talk through it. I've got a bridging inquiry form. It'll take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to fill in. Details of, the address of the property, purchase price, what you're going to spend on it, what it's going to be worth. A bit on your experience. Experience does help. So, although we do have options for first-time bridgers, first-time landlords, even first-time buyers. There's options.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah, so there's options for everyone. So we'll run through that, various other things. What your exit is, these kind of things. So I can distribute that form to anyone that needs it as well. Just to, we've got various forms that we can distribute, and it's just literally just a 5-10 minute exercise just to fill in a few details on the deal. And yeah, once we've done that, basically. Come back to me, or either fill it in and send it to me, or we'll run through it together. I'll then send it out to a few different lenders. We'll then come back, discuss the terms that we've got from those lenders, decide on together which is probably the best option for any individual, for you individually and your individual circumstance. Once we've decided on that and we decide to pull the trigger, that's when my broker fee is due. So I charge $699 on application. We can reduce that slightly if we're going to have repeat business, for example, but first time generally $699. So yeah, once that's done, so you've had an AIP, you've had your heads of terms, we've discussed, I've done my work deciding on, and we've decided on which lender we're going to go for. We'll then have the valuation fee, full application in first of all, and then we'll go for the valuation. So you have the lender's valuation to pay. So the problem at the moment with valuations is that valuers and surveyors are having a bit of a nightmare in terms of their PI insurance, so professional indemnity. Apologies about the background noise, it's the gardener. So
it's okay, we're having offices.
Yeah, exactly. So your professional, so their insurance premiums are going through the roof. So fortunately, valuations are quite expensive at the moment. The problem with bridging as well is you've got kind of a three-pronged valuation as well. So we'll have to have the valuation of the property as it stands. So that's the value of it as it is without any work done on it. So you'll have that. They'll then have to, the surveyor will then have to look into the works that you're planning on doing. So they'll want to see a schedule of works, what you're planning on doing to the property. So again, that takes time to run over that and make sure that marries up with what you think it's going to cost. And then they'll have to do a prediction for the GDV, so the done-up value. So you've got three aspects there of the valuation. So again, that unfortunately makes the valuation a bit more expensive. So, as I say, bridging isn't cheap, but it's a really good option. And the majority of all seasoned property developers are using it, and it can be very good to make. Very good tool to make for you increasing the value of the property and pulling the money out. So that's the valuation fee. As I say, that's going to be more expensive than a standard mortgage, and also not helped by unfortunately by the PI issues that are going on at the moment. So once we've got the valuation back, we assume that everything's hunky-dory and that it's come back as we expect. We then move on to legals. So you'll have to pay the lender's legal fee as well. So again, we expect the solicitors, because it's bridging, to work at speed. It can be slightly more expensive as well than a normal mortgage. So again, might be slightly more expensive for the legals. And it's key as well to use a solicitor that is used to doing bridging, because a lot of them, a lot of the time, that's what slows down the process, the solicitors that we choose. Vendor solicitors we can't do anything about, but please make sure that you've got a bridging solicitor that's accustomed to bridging. And then once the legals are done, then we complete. So that's the process basically. In terms of other fees you might have a title insurance that you have to pay for the lender. It might be 500-600 quid. So if you can imagine, if you've got a vacant property, it's more sort of susceptible to vandalism, this kind of thing, and perhaps even squatters, that kind of stuff. But so your insurance is generally a bit higher as well. So the lenders may ask you to pay that. Might have an admin fee as well, and then you've got your arrangement fee. So those fees. So your upfront fees are going to be broker fee, your valuation fee, and legal fees. The other ones are generally deducted from the loan. So that's a little, again, in a nutshell, a little snippet into how much, what bridging is going to cost.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And it's interesting, as I said, it's something what I don't know anything about, and I do need to know about, because I will be going to, buying, purchasing properties and doing developments. That's what I'm aiming for. So it's really, really good to know this. But just
I think the key is as well to do things properly. You get some sort of newbies into property, try and sort of use mortgages, use buy-to-let mortgages without any ERCs, this kind of thing, to try and sort of get around the system and avoid paying the bridging fees. But it's just not the right, it's not the right way of doing things. As an FCA broker, I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm not going to try and bend the rules and that kind of thing. There's something called the Hunters Report, which a lot of people don't know about as well, whereby lenders will compare information. So if you get caught out using buy-to-let mortgages for what you shouldn't be using them for, you risk being mentioned in the Hunters Report, and them getting blacklisted and not being able to get lending in the future at all. So again, do things properly. Aside from that, generally you're going to have early repayment fees, and also mortgages take a lot longer to process. So it's just a much less streamlined process than hopefully the bridging is. So try and do things properly the first time.
It's just linking me straight to like a question. What's interesting is, like, when you said in the beginning, that they're not really looking at your credit score, for example, yet they're looking at more at the GDV of the property. Now, do you do any checks on the person at all, or like do you need to have some sort of
yes, I mean they definitely do obviously they do their due diligence, but it's less crucial, let's put it that way. But your income and that kind of thing is less crucial, but it's definitely still looked into. I mean, certain lenders won't look at you if you've got a really poor credit score, for example, or if you've been made bankrupt, this kind of thing. I mean, of course it comes into it. Lenders aren't stupid, but
and it's more.
But it's more about. I just say it's more about the asset than it is the individual, and what income the property's bringing in. Yeah.
And when you said as well that it's a short-term loan as opposed to the long-term loan when you have like a mortgage, when you said short-term, like what is the like a maximum length or minimum length, or what is it? You're looking, bridging loan is like a standard time, is it a year, 2 years, or?
So the key thing is with bridging is to get in and out as quickly as possible, because the interest rates, I've not mentioned it, probably start from around 0.55% at 70% loan to value. That's going to be marked top rate, but certain lenders are easier to work with than others. And, especially first time, you're probably going to be looking at around 0.75% a month if it's just a standard bridge, perhaps even slightly higher, up to 0.85, something like that, or maybe slightly higher, depending on the deal, depending on the individual, and depending on what the individual's priorities are, whether it's, speed and ease of working with the lender, or whether they just want specifically to go for rate. So the speed is the key is to get in and out as quickly as possible. So there's no early repayment charges or anything like that. So if you're doing a quick refurb, we might take a 12-month term, for example. But yeah, try and get in and out within sort of 4, 5, 6, 7 months. It might take a little while to get the refinance done. But in terms of the actual length of the bridge, I mean, there's some bridges who don't set, you know, a term on it. We have one lender that does a never-ending bridge, but that would be having to service the debt monthly. Do you know what I mean? So, as opposed to retaining the interest, what you've got to factor in is as well, the longer that, if you're retaining interest, the longer that you take the loan over, the more that your net amount day one is going to be reduced. So, if you're doing it over 12 months, you've got to take 12 months interest off the initial loan that you're getting. If you're doing it over 2 years, 20, I mean, you're not going to have a bridge over more than 24 months. But if you are doing it for 24 months, you've got to take off 2 years interest day one, which is going to really reduce the amount of cash in hand. You might be going from 75 to 50%, something like that. That's just off the top of my head. But it's as I say, the key is we want to get in and out of it as quickly as possible.
As possible, yeah. But that's fascinating. Like that, honestly, that is you in few minutes you literally changed my zero knowledge to suddenly I feel like I can understand bridging loans. So that was brilliant, Alex.
Well, good. Hopefully I've put it fairly simply.
I'm sure there's more to it, obviously, because otherwise everybody would be a bridging loan finance if it would be just that simple. But
it's a very bespoke sort of form of lending. You've got to know exactly what you're doing, which lenders, how they work, etc. So hence why I specialise pretty much solely in the bridging. I mean, we are doing some refinancing out of new builds and that kind of thing, but generally we just sort of specialise in the bridging arena. Yeah.
Nice. Right. Fantastic. Yeah, as I said, that is suddenly I feel like I do understand this topic a bit more. So yeah, that's brilliant.
Great. I'm pleased.
I had a few questions from I think it was like 2 or 3 people gave me as well. But before I had more. I just had to choose few because we'll be here forever. And I think I've chosen there you go, 3 questions here. But I think you actually answered them already, so I'm gonna ask them anyway, just from the because I'll read them out loud, but I think you already answered them anyway. So we have a Jonathan Crane asked, do you need good credit score to be considered for bridging loan? If so, what is a good credit score? But you already answered this question. You already said that's really what it is about, isn't it?
It's not crucial to have a perfect credit score, but again, if it's very low, then it's gonna really limit the amount of lenders that we can go to. I think another thing is that it's not so much the actual score; it's what's actually in the credit report. So we will need a full credit report. If you've got defaults or that kind of CCJs, that kind of thing, then obviously that limits things. So the credit score is just a number a lot of the time. It's what's actually behind that number and on a full credit report that lenders will actually look into. So to a certain extent, that number's kind of irrelevant anyway. It's the full report that matters. Sure.
That is interesting because it's like when you are a person who works with credit score and you know what actually you're looking at, like mortgage providers, for example, what you just said, it's something what ordinary person like me don't know. Like you look at the credit score, it's like, I'm doing okay. Oh, look at this score. But that's just the number. Show me what's behind. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting. So it's like, basically, I think to Jonathan, the answer will be like, look, it's not necessarily what they're looking at as such. However, you do want to have a good credit score in general. When it comes to finances, borrowing money, etc., in general, you do want to look after your credit score, isn't it?
Exactly. Things like you can help, like make sure you're on the electoral roll, this kind of thing. There's all sorts of different things. Make sure you're on that because that really impacts your credit score. Sure.
Yeah, that's great advice. Good advice. Now, what is another one? So we had from Peter. If I pronounce it wrong, I'm sorry, Peter Skizanski. So can I apply?
Good attempt. Yeah.
Skizanski. Can I apply for bridging loan under my company or a personal name? If company, what my company needs to be accepted for loan, and the same questions for this personal name. So, but again.
Okay. So with bridging, it doesn't make any difference whether you apply under a limited company or your personal name. If you can imagine, there's a lot of sort of development projects that are done under newly formed SPVs. So brand new limited companies, absolutely fine. You don't need to have any trading history, anything like that. The bridging lender gets the security on the first charge, basically, on the property. So, as I say, there are second charge options as well. Using second charges, actually going off on a slight tangent, as leverage as deposit, for example. So you can. But let me answer that question first. So. It doesn't make any difference, basically, and you're fine to use freshly formed limited companies, probably nice and clean. Lenders might actually prefer that for for any given project. If you've got investors coming in, and that happens a lot of the time. Newly formed sort of JVs, they'll form an SPV, so special purchase vehicle, especially for a certain project. So no problem whether it's personal name or limited company, it doesn't affect rate.
You said when with SPV, if it's a freshly built, you have no books, no history, which with like mortgage, they'll be looking at a minimum of 2 years of your income, etc. So you can see already the difference between a classic mortgage and bridging loan. So I can see more and more the differences in that. So that's
exactly, yeah. So I was mentioning, I don't know whether it's so overcomplicated, but we can look at second charges as well on bridging. So say you've got 75% loan to value, again from the lender on the security that you're purchasing. We can then look at perhaps whacking a second charge on, for example, your residential property, if that's got equity in it, which can then stand as your deposit. So you can effectively get 100% of the purchase price funded as long as you've got enough equity in other property to enable that. So if we work off a figure of 70% maximum on the second charge, we can leverage up to that and get 100% of the purchase price. So
wow, so many things you can look at, so many things you can do.
So it's just easier than actually refinancing, for example. So if you refinance your residential, you're going to be increasing your mortgage payments, that kind of thing. It depends on your income. Whereas on a bridge, you can just put a second charge sitting behind your first charge lender, as long as they're happy with that, to stand as your deposit. So it helps if you don't have much cash. And then obviously if you're doing flips, for example, then on the sale of the property, then that's what pays back the bridge. So first and second charge. So that's another option, as well as refurbishment bridges. I've not really delved into that. So refurbishment bridges is where the lender will fund the refurb as well. So in accordance with making sure that the GDV or the done-up value stacks up, and as long as there's enough margin in the deal, they'll fund the refurb as well. So that works in tranches, like development finance. So say you've got a property which is 200 grand purchase, 100 grand refurb. You might they might lend you 70% day one, less your interest, remember, and then they'll agree to fund the refurb as well. So 100% of the refurb, as long as there's enough margin in the deal, profit margin. So the way that works is you'll still have to do a proportion of the works yourself, and then you claim back the money. So you might do 25 grand's worth of that 100 grand's worth of works. The lender will then send out an asset manager to check everything you've done, make sure it all stacks up, make sure you've done what you say you were going to do, look at your invoices, make sure you paid them, and then they'll reimburse that 25 grand, and then you can go again, basically. So that's how that would work. Yeah.
Amazing. It seems like with bridging loans, you can be very creative. It's like some property strategies as well. It's like, it's not just black and white. You can be actually creative, and that bridging loan seems to me like there's so many different options, and it really depends on individual or your situation or your deal, or so that's very interesting. So it's not necessarily like black and white. I mean, obviously it is a black and white as such, but you can be creative with individual person. You can go
exactly. Some lenders will allow second charges, others won't. Some
Some
have appetites for HMOs, others don't. It's just very bespoke, So yeah.
Amazing. I have a question which I think we have not answered yet today. So that's the new one. So from Anna Moiser, I believe that's how you pronounce it. There's a question: what is the minimum amount you can apply for, and what are the criteria? So I don't think we talked about like what is like minimum.
Okay.
To.
So you can, in theory, bridge right down to around £10,000, but it's very questionable whether it's worth doing, because the fees are quite high and the amount of work that goes into it. You're still going to have the same broker fee. You're still going to have a valuation fee, legals. You own legals as well as lender legals. Don't forget. And all these things, and then the lenders are going to whack a silly interest rate on, because it takes the same amount of basically the same amount of manpower and man work. So those fiddly deals are like your small deals. Generally, they just get pushed around and around people's desks as well. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So everyone, lenders, me, and borrowers generally will prefer, I'd say, anything above sort of a £40,000. I mean, a lot of brokers won't touch below sort of 100 or 50k, that kind of thing. I mean, we'll still go down to around 40, really. That's I said below 40 grand sort of loan size, you're really going to start looking at deals that aren't necessarily worth doing from the point of view of all the fees and that kind of thing. You're going to have fees probably almost up to the amount of the loan. Do you know what I mean? So it's really questionable whether it's worth doing below sort of 40 grand loan size. Really, criteria is similar. That sort of one of my vanilla lenders will go down to 40 sort of grand. So yeah, as I say, there can be quite a headache though, the smaller deals, you know, because
if you want a smaller loan, you probably better look for not like a loan through bank or something like that.
Generally, yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. And as you said, it's because you got so many fees to pay. And so much work is actually involved. Is that when you're looking for something smaller, it makes sense. I understand that. Right, Alex, I always ask every single of my guests to give us like 3 top tips. So when it comes to bridging loans, what will be 3 top tips from Alex for either beginners?
3 top tips. Okay, so first of all, I'd say communicate. So, you know, I think the key with a lot of things to do with property is communication. So in terms of the way we pull everything together to you know, and always divulge all your information day one. Don't have anything sort of lurking in the background, because the lenders aren't stupid. They'll find it out that, you know, they do this day in, day out. So communicate well and effectively. It goes from my point of view as well, communicating with the client and with the lender, obviously, because I'm the sort of the bridge between them. So communicate. Second of all, a solicitor is crucial. You know, always have a really good solicitor that is, you know, there's a lot of cheap ones out there, as there are brokers, you know, and it just ends up being a headache, you know. So get a really good solicitor. Say again?
And as you said, solicitor specified on bridging as well.
Yes, exactly. Specific lenders that have, I mean,
learning
solicitors, sorry, that have you know, done bridging previously. So that's communication. Thirdly, so another tip would be do things properly, you know, as well.
You do something, do it properly.
Yeah, exactly. If you do something, make sure you do it the right way. As I say, as an FCA broker, I'm not going to risk getting my fingers burnt as well by putting the wrong deal to the wrong lender to try and save money. Do you know what I mean? So, because I'm going to risk getting my fingers burnt by that lender and being cast off their panel as well. So any decent broker will want to do things the right way as well. So yeah, that's probably three decent tips. Yeah.
Nice. I love them. Absolutely love them. Well done. Amazing. Great answers. Now, Alex, as the episodes are going to the end, there's always a questions you can't escape, which is a question I always ask as well. And it is question number 1. when it comes to personal education, what book, if you read or listen to books, what book would you recommend to the listeners to either read or listen to? And it could be in relation to mindset or money or business or whatever that is. And feel free to recommend a few if you want to. But something what Alex read and thinking, you know what, that was a great book that helped me because of da 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 da.
Right. Okay. To be honest with you, I'm not a massive reader. I get my information from sort of hands-on, so I know it's not ideal. Any sort of
I listen to books, for example.
Sorry.
Like I don't read much. I listen to books. To be fair, like some people they just
anything on mindset. I'd say I think mindset is very, very important in business. You know. One of my favourite quotes is whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. Right. So the power of the mind's unbelievable, and just anything on mindset, that kind of thing I'd recommend. As I say, it's unbelievable how much my mindset's changed from, you know, I can't even doing this kind of thing now. I mean, I'd never have the confidence previously to do this kind of stuff. And just the way
you are.
Say again?
And look how awesome you are, and so natural.
Yeah, without being, if you say so. But it's really important, as I say, to get out of your comfort zone. Anything about breaking out of the comfort zone. Life starts at the end of your comfort zone, as everyone says. Just really push yourself. And I know that's not a specific book, so but yeah, that's general sort of advice, I'd say, to try and get out of your comfort zone and push yourself in life. And yeah, I know that's sort of around the sort of tiptoed around the topic of a book, but
I love that. It's because basically you said that you don't really read as such. However, if you would recommend someone, if they want to read something, they focus on mindset, for example. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say yeah. I mean, there's loads of good property books out there as well. If you look, you know, all sorts.
So many. Yeah. So many. And Alex, I also always ask, if you would watch something, what would you recommend for someone to watch? For those who don't read, for those who don't listen to books, if they want to watch something. And again, it could be a documentary or it could be a movie. Something what you'll be like, you know what, guys, watch this because blah, blah, blah.
Right, okay. So again, I tend to only, for my relaxation, I'll watch sport. My cousin's a professional golfer, that kind of thing. Just something, because I work, you know how busy I am, sort of working around the clock, that kind of stuff, and always on social media. I find, you know, just to switch off and just get away from it, I like to watch sport and just have an appreciation for them. My cousin plays a professional golfer who plays on the US and European tour, so I like to watch him playing. And another thing, again, it's probably not advice, but it's what I do, and I watch quite a lot of sort of crime documentaries. Just it's an interest in mine. I find them quite fascinating, the way how murder investigations go, that kind of thing. Just a separate sort of interest, I suppose. Those are really the two things I watch on TV. I do keep up with the news, but there's a hell of a lot of negative stuff. So I try not pay actually too much attention to it. No. I have to keep up with obviously the other way property things, the property market's going, that kind of thing. But in terms of what I watch, I do watch videos on social media as well. You know, on YouTube, educational things like this kind of thing, someone's
podcast on or conversation interview, so you can actually learn something.
Exactly, yeah. So always, every day's a school day. Try and learn and absorb as much as you possibly can.
Hashtag forever students.
Say again.
Hashtag forever students.
Exactly, yeah. So just always absorb, and I think if you have the attitude of trying to learn, then you won't go far wrong. It's people that think they know it all, and they're going to come unstuck eventually. So, in terms of what I watch on telly, as I say, I watch sport just to try and get away from give the brain a bit of a break. Aside from that, I watch some crime documentaries and that kind of thing.
Nice.
Don't watch. I wouldn't recommend watching soaps all day. That kind of thing. It's just pointless, and Love Island, that kind of thing. It's just
it's just feeding your brain with
your brain crap, isn't it? Basically,
yeah. Or like when someone watching too much drama, like what's it called? Something with Hollyoaks.
Hollyoaks. Yeah.
My God, it's just drama and drama and drama and drama. It's like
EastEnders and that kind of thing. Yeah. No, not for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. But like when it comes to your the things you're watching, so I'm personally not that much into sport as such. I mean, watching wise, yeah. However, I do understand when people do, and for you, it's not only that it's a way of relaxing a little bit, going away from computer, going away from money, finances, blah 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 blah. It's work, yeah. It's not only that you enjoy that, but also if you think about it, it is also motivational, because when you're watching someone's sports, that person works bloody hard and they train bloody hard, and if they get to a TV to massive, for the massive tournaments, that means they've done something right. So just that on its own, it's already inspiring.
Exactly. I mean, golf is so much about the power of the mind and confidence and battling your demons as well, and hard work and practice as well. So it's very a lot of inspiration to take from my cousin, for example.
Oh yeah, no, I get that, and it's the first person who said sport as a recommendation to watch, and I had someone who would specifically said sport as well, and the reason. So it's lovely. I love that. That's why we have so many different things out there to watch, because it's something there for everybody. So yeah, nice. So we got Alex, who is an expert on bridging finance, who loves food and cocktails and loves watching sports.
I do watch some food programs as well. I wouldn't particularly recommend my food videos, but I'm going to be putting out more content as well on bridging and stuff. I keep saying it. It's finding time. And time, that isn't an excuse. I know you can always make time for stuff, but
Or outsource, isn't it? Well, amazing. Oh, Alex, I really much enjoyed this episode today. Like, you provided so much value. Honestly, I understand the bridging loan more than I ever could, more than I ever did before.
Perfect. We don't have to run through it again then.
Well, like when it comes to actually doing, when it comes to me actually applying for bridging loans, at least now I know a bit more about it. So, and all the listeners as well. So yeah, I really, really appreciate you coming on the show today. And as I said, we've been waiting for it for months. Always something happened, but it's also
whether it was illness or whatever. But glad we've managed to finally get it done, and hopefully the main thing is that it gives some people some education, and that's the main thing that we're all trying to do. And even if always trying to help people to learn and understand.
It's saying as well, that you have to give value. You need to help others if you want to grow. So it is really, really nice, like having something like podcast where you come and just talk about your topic. And as like my podcast is I don't have only my listeners are not only beginners, but that's how it's been named in the beginning. And it's like, just interviewing people so the beginners can learn a bit more of like how to start with certain things. And what did I want to say? I lost my train of thought. I got it. It's just, as you said, it's just by just talking about something you are passionate about and what you are good at. You just add value to others. Just by having a simple little interview and just comfortably talking about what you love doing. That's really, really good. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy the podcast. It's just, it's someone really, friend like you, sit down. Unfortunately, we can't do it in the same room, but beauty of having the internet and the good Wi-Fi and the technologies that we can do that. So that's amazing. So I really, really appreciate you came on the show.
No, I appreciate it, but always happy to help, and I appreciate you having me on. And we've talked about it for months and months and months, haven't we? When we've come across each other, I know we live a long a long way apart. But yeah, we've always sort of got on and discussed things and said we'll have to do it, and then something's come up. Yeah, yeah. Just say it'd be good to come down and perhaps stay in some of your beautiful holiday lets down in Torbay and get to one of the Torbay events as well. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. My essays are always open.
Yeah.
And yeah. Alex, just so you, for those who's listening, for those who want to find you, can you tell us where to find you and how to find you online?
Okay, so I'm very, very contactable basically across all social media. So just my name. If you type in Alex Blakeborough, it's luckily probably quite an unusual surname. So not a massive amount of Alex Blakeboroughs. So Alex Blakeborough -finance on LinkedIn. Got over 25,000 followers now on LinkedIn, so that's pretty good. Alex Blakeborough Finance, I believe it is. I'll just double check that on Instagram. Let's have a look.
I think it was just
Alex Blakeborough Finance on Instagram. Alex _Blakeborough _finance on Insta, and Alex Blakeborough on Facebook. AB Finance as well, got a Facebook page. I'm always sort of up at the 5,000 mark on Facebook, so might be good to follow the AB Finance page. And email address as well is alex.blakeborough at ab-finance.co.uk.
Lovely.
Mobile number as well. Happy to to confer over WhatsApp as well. But probably best just to direct message me first of all, and we can take things from there.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for not only coming on the show, but not only for providing amazing value. I really enjoyed this episode, but it's honestly, as I said, that you've added a lot of value. I really, really enjoyed it, and I really hope you've enjoyed it too.
Yes, I have. Yeah, really nice to have been on finally and get this done.
Welcome to How Did You Show family.
Thank you.
Officially in now, one of us.
Great, nice to be on.
Amazing. Well, Alex, unfortunately, as everything we have to end, so we're gonna have to say goodbye. So I already thanked you, but again, thank you very much for coming, and maybe we can do this again one day in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.